You know the Bengston Method, right? And the gold standard is to cycle all day long. Like, how in the world do you do that? That's absolutely impossible. It's hard enough to think of 20 things you like and spin them around at, very fast speeds, but how could you possibly do that while you're doing other things or while certainly like you got other things to do during the day, right? So I'm going to share with you how I do that. This video was inspired by a Facebook Live that I did. Um, but during that Facebook Live, I only had 15 minutes. And this video, I'll be able to go into it in a little more depth. I'll actually give you, I think there's two experiential exercises where I have you try on some of these things and see how you feel. And I think it'll really help you get it. Get the concept, and we can have a dialogue in the comments section here in YouTube. So enjoy this in-depth exploration of how to cycle all day long. Today's topic is how exactly does one cycle all day long? William Bengston's image cycling can be challenging enough if you're sitting down focusing on it. Seriously. So how does he expect us to be doing it all day long? That's what this video is about. How exactly does one cycle all day long? What I discovered that the thing that I thought was rather impossible came together with just a simple shift, and I'll be teaching about that. Now, as I go through this, remember that these are my personal, playful innovations, experiments, improvisations with the Bengston Method. There's nothing right or wrong about them. And I encourage you to use your creativity to improvise and see how you can cycle all day long. And then tell us in the comments below the video how you go about doing that. And if you got any suggestions for me. Okay, so there's a focused and an unfocused part of image cycling. So the focused part, you can't do all day long. The focused part is where you sit down like in the morning and you write down the words that correspond to the images on your list, and you think about them and you decide if you still like them. You do the image exercise where you go as fast as you can, where you can still see each image, but you don't have time to emotionally respond to that. And you might reprogram one of the images on your list. Like say you want to be a certain weight. And right now your image looks like this, but you want to make it a nicer image, a prettier image. So you think about it and you don't switch what you want on your list, but you switch the image you have for it on the list. And that might take a minute or two to do that. So that's very focused. And that takes anywhere from like 2 to 10 minutes every day. And that's not what you do all day long, all right? What you do all day long is something that Bengston calls hypercycling. And hypercycling is where the images are spinning so fast you can't see them anymore. In fact, you only sort of sense them. I like to put them behind me, at least initially, and then later I just find them, but wherever they are. But I like to, it's more of a sense of spinning than it is a visual of spinning, right? All right, so how do you do this? So let's be clear that cycling all day long does not mean that you're focused on it all day long, and it doesn't mean that you're even remembering to do it all day long. In my world. So if you know something different, please let me know. I think of it sort of like wearing a special outfit. If I have a special outfit that I've never worn before, I'm aware that I'm wearing it while I'm doing everything else. Maybe a special shoes, like I'm just super aware of those shoes and what wearing. I'm enjoying their, their bounciness or their sophistication or whatever is nice about this article of clothing that I'm wearing. And I can walk and I can talk and I can think and I can do stuff while I'm wearing my outfit. And you can do that while you're hypercycling too. I think of the Dr. Seuss book, Green Eggs and Ham. You can cycle in a box. You can cycle with a fox. You can cycle here or there. You can cycle anywhere. All right, so let's practice a little bit. Let's just to get you with the confidence that you can do this. So start spinning a disc of light behind your head. If you already know Bengston image cycling, you can spin your image cycling behind your head. But I want this video to be accessible to a beginner as well. So notice that you can feel the soles of your feet while you're imagining the spinning disc of light behind your head. And you can look around and you can see the walls and the ceiling and the floor and the objects in the room while you're still spinning that disc of light behind your head. You can multitask. Okay, feel that. You can smell the air. What does it smell like while you maintain your spinning? And you can easily imagine, right now you're watching your device, but you can easily imagine washing the dishes or while you're spinning or weeding the garden or driving. All right, so let's do one more little drill. I'm going to count from 10 down to 1. And I'd like you to do it as well. And while you're doing that, I'd like you to also hypercycle or spin a disc of light behind your head. It's not the same, but it's a similar skill. So it's a good drill. So 10, 9, you're spinning. 8, you're still spinning. 7, you're still spinning. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay? And most people can do that, right? And you can stop the video and try it yourself a couple times. And that'll get your confidence up quite a bit. Now, the next thing is to read something out loud while you're spinning. I like children's books because they're usually easy to read. Green Eggs and Ham. But you can also just pick anything to read. Another thing is to sing a little song. So I'm going to sing a little song, and I'd like you to cycle while I'm singing the song. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. All right, now I was able to keep spinning while I was singing. And you can too. Just a little tiny bit of practice. This is not hard. You just have to, I'm mostly just giving you permission to do it. Like, oh, that's what you mean. All right, good. So eventually, you can read and think and argue and fight and laugh and smile all while you're hypercycling. Okay. And when you're doing this, why would you want to do this? So I think what it does is it engineers paradox. There's that word, paradox, into your existence, where you have one foot in the realm of positive images of all your hopes and dreams coming true, and another foot in the realm of the here and now with just whatever your life has, the good, the bad, the ugly. And that is having kind of living in these two places simultaneously, I think sort of opens up your energetic matrix and allows it not to be quite so rigid and allows healing and the manifestation of your desires on your list to come through. So that's like a potential mechanism. Yeah. Okay, so let's say that you practice and you'll be able to sing and think and write and work while you're hypercycling, but that does not, the next objection people have is they forget. You forget to cycle. So how in the world, you get up this morning and I'm going to do it. And then you just forget. And this was me for the longest time. When I first learned how to cycle, it felt like a special technique and a trick. And and a chore. took discipline. I had tremendous resistance to it. Took me like 11 years to even just like break through and do it. Because I think I met Bill. He first introduced it to me in 1994. And it was in 2009 that I actually learned how to do it. So that's resistance, right? So I had this version in my head that it was hard. And I'm such a valiant healer, and I'm willing to do the very best I can for my patients, and after all, I wanted a cancer cure because that's what the Bengston Method's researched with mice. That it took me a while to break through on how to make the process enjoyable, so that it became inherently nurturing and fun rather than yet another thing in my very busy life. And how did I do that? Drum roll, please. It was rather simple. It was an evolution, but when it finally came through, it was like, aha. So the simple thing is I had to not just care about my patients. I had to actually generally care about the things on my list. I had to care about me. I had to really honor myself as I was putting myself through this technique. Like, how can I really do it? It became less of a psychological technique and more of a way of being with my list, a way of being is what I would term spiritual. Like in my octave resonance healing approach, that sort of attitude, it's beyond psychology. It's just a way of being. So I had to really learn how to genuinely care in a beyond the psychological way, in an intimate way with my list. So how did I do that? I actually got a little less serious, not a little more serious. I anthropomorphized my list. So what does that mean? Anthropomorphized means you make it like a human. So I figured it was a creation of my consciousness. I had given birth to it, so it was like my thought baby. And it now had its own autonomous existence. I certainly decide what's going on it, what items go on the list, but I can get feedback from it. And I started talking to it, and it started talking back to me. Not necessarily in English, but we developed our own little language, which is not that hard to read. And I can tell you how I did that in a minute, maybe. So I can say that I honestly love my spinner. It's the container that holds a list of my desires. It's not the only container for those desires, but it's a special one. I created this container by following William Bengston's rules, and it continues to grow and evolve with my care. I talk to it, it talks back. I ask it a question, it speeds up, it slows down, it does something that is funny, like I might, it might surprise me with a burst of playful energy, like bursting into a whole bunch of spinners with doing the can-can routine from the Broadway play. Like the da 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 da, that one. Or it can kind of look limpy as if it's dejected, like, oh, I've been ignoring it, or oh, something's wrong, like something on the list isn't right. It's trying to tell me, and it will give me these little visual. It'll sing and dance and play. It'll go far away. It'll go into outer space. It'll go into the center of the earth. It will go in different locations, which communicate to me in very obvious ways, not subtle ways. There, that's what I was trying to say. In not subtle ways, what's going on. And my inner connection to my spinner is as real as any other inner contact I've ever had on the inner planes. I've been working on the inner planes, I think, my whole life, but certainly consciously my whole adult life. So since I have this living relationship with my spinner, the way I cycle all day long is the same way I have a living relationship with anyone else I care about all day long. I give my cycle attention. I care. Doesn't mean nonstop focus, like that would drive anybody nuts, including your cycle. It's a working relationship. I really want it to help me get the stuff on my list and to help me heal my patients. And as with any working relationship, there's lots to communicate about. We might have a formal meeting in the morning where I write it down. There might be multiple check-ins throughout the day. There's appreciation, there's goofing around, there's checking the memorizing. It's working. I thank it for constantly spinning. And I thank it for constantly spinning whether I'm aware of it or not. I don't set it and I forget it. I just ask it and then notice if it's doing it. Now, if I ask a working partner, like another human being, to do something and I ignore them, it usually kind of filters away. It usually takes a little bit of reinforcement to get somebody to do something consistently that's new. So that's the same thing with the image cycling. If you're having a living relationship with it, you need to pay attention to it throughout the day. So, like, if you're married to someone, you don't just say hello in the morning and then say hello in the morning the next day and hello in the morning. You usually talk during the day. You do something with them during the day. And while you're doing other things, you think about them and you hold them in your heart. And if they were to suddenly die, your life would be completely uprooted with its emptiness because they had filled so much of your day. And I do want you to have a fuller relationship with your life partner than with your cycle, but it's sort of like that, okay? It's sort of like having an intimate relationship with somebody, and it's kind of very intimate. It's your intimate relationship with your own hopes and dreams, right? You're just spinning them around. In fact, so that's the working part, but I actually think that the cycling relationship can evolve into more than just a project-oriented work relationship, and it can become like a real love relationship. Like, so I sometimes date my cycle. So I don't think of myself as, oh, now I got to review my list and I've got to do this work. I think of dating my cycle like, oh, let's go think of some juicy images that will freshen things up. It's sort of like buying new clothes for your lover. And just, make it fresh and fun. And the bond that I've created with my cycle by anthropomorphizing it seems to help it work with my deepest intentions. And I think it makes my practice more effective. And I have two ideas of why this might be the case. One might be just because it's more fun that I do it more, rather than just think about that I should be doing it more. And the other is that there is actually an energetic architecture where the emotions have to be involved in order for the thread from the spirit to get down into matter. Talk about that in my octave resonance healing approach. So I think there might be something that gets activated as part of how the universe engineers manifestation when we have this lively relationship to our spinners and to anything else. All right. So we have this relationship. It's one thing to consistently say hello to somebody you live with because their physical bodies are there to remind you. But how do you build consistency with your spinning practice? And, so I get a lot of juice out of this living relationship, but it's one I've cultivated for over 15 years, right? So we're 15 years and still going strong. But what if your relationship to your image cycling is new? What if you're not real buddies yet? Even you're just trying to get some work done together. Then how do you remember? And I would say it's the same way you don't get sidetracked at work. You set up some structures so that so you don't forget the important things. So a possible beginning structure is a morning routine Takes 1 or 2 minutes, or up to 10 if you want. An evening routine that's basically just a thought, and then hypercycling all day long, which is easy because you're just doing other things. And the the hard part, so like in the morning, you do your little routine of writing down your list and seeing if you like everything and doing the image exercise. At bedtime, you might do some simple acknowledgement that you've enjoyed working with your cycle today. Thank it for continuing to spin as you sleep. You could do a little sleep healing. You could put somebody's name under your pillow and ask it to say that you're hoping that your sleep will and the spinning will help enhance the healing. Um, so that's what you can do at bedtime. But during the day, what helps is to have some triggers. So you might want of when you want to check in. So when you wash your hands, you might want to remember to cycle. When you eat, when you put on your shoes, when you pet your dog. Figure out something that you do regularly or several things that you do regularly and attach remembering to find your cycle to that behavior. It's like the whole atomic habits thing. Okay. And one of the biggest triggers that you get the most mileage for, so you can cycle while you wash your hands, and that's nice, but you'll get more bang for your buck, so to speak, by cycling whenever you have a strong emotion. And I've done other videos, a lot of them, I think, or maybe I just talk endlessly about it with my patients. But when you have a strong emotion, that can be a powerful trigger to start your hypercycling. You're not going to be seeing the individual images because you're busy having your emotion, but you can turn on your spinner, and that will help you help it work better. Okay, and I definitely have that as a trigger in my life. If something's really happy, the cycling feels like wild applause. And if something's really angry or annoying, it's like, it just sort of like emphasizes how upset I am. Yeah. All right. So here's an exercise to try right now. So start cycling if you stopped. And if you don't know how to cycle, spin a disc of light behind your head. Just get that going. Now pretend or imagine or sense that your spinner has a personality and that it loves you. So before you were just listening to me talk about it, but right now I'd like you to actually pretend that your cycle loves you. And imagine that it's loyal to you as a dog is. Just like a dog finds pleasure in protecting you by barking at strangers, because that's its job. Your cycle finds pleasure in helping you manifest good things into your life and to help you and others heal. It's like what it was made to do. It's its destiny, it's its purpose, it's its reason for being. And it loves you. And I'd like you to kind of love it too right now. Right? Now ask it to please, and you always say please spin at a speed that will help the healing right now. And notice if your spinning just sped up or if it just slowed down. You feel it like an acceleration or a deceleration. You don't really see it. And there's no right or wrong, but it should change without you forcing it. It should go, oh, something just settled down, or whoa, it just went much faster. And now, if you were able to do that, good. If you couldn't, maybe just pause the video and try again. But let's just thank it for helping with the healing. And now let's try another little exercise. Let's ask it where in your 3D space, like it doesn't have to be behind your head, but it would like to be right now. And mine goes up there, over on the corner of the ceiling over there. But notice where yours goes. Yours might go somewhere else in the room or outside of the room. Might go into the center of the earth or in some far off galaxy or a nearby house or country or planet, or just notice when you ask it where it wants to spin. And when you get something that surprises you, that's your cue that your ego is not just making it up. Of course, part of you is making it up. It has to go through your imagination. But when you get locations that sort of surprise and delight you, um, it's an indication that there is a two-way communication going on between you and the spirit of your spinner. And when you do this, you're using your imagination as an organ of perception. It's not just an extension of your conscious ego. And when you do this a lot, you establish trust. And trust is part of any intimate relationship. And I'd encourage you to establish trust with your cycle. All right, there you have it. That's how I cycle all day long. Or some of the ways I cycle all day long. You may have other ideas, which I hope you will share. So my suggestion is simple. You cultivate a living relationship with your cycle. You care about it, and then you do things all day long that you would do for anything else you care about. Doesn't mean staring at it all day long. Not that at all. In fact, that would kind of be not very good. If somebody stared at me all day long, I would not consider that loving at all. So whether you're going to take this information and start setting up some triggers to remember to cycle, or you're just going to nurture that emotional connection you have to your hopes and your dreams, or you start finding joy in the daily process of finding your cycle, like, oh, where is it right now? How fast is it going? It's your commitment and your intimacy to this process that transforms this practice into something that's truly powerful.